Hey everyone, what's up? It is Sunday, January 21st, 2018. And as you see the discussion down below, as you see the title, and you pretty much see the discussion. Well, you see the title of the discussion, I should say. I'm here to kind of give you a little bit more of I'm here to kind of discuss a little bit more about the season seven finale because I just recently watched. Well, I've been watching on it. I've been watching in full and going back and watching, at times because I find it really interesting and really funny, and I like to see the reaction of people my age, in my age range, my generation, even a bit younger, reacting to My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. And Analysis Bronies React is a great video, and I think there's others out there because you get a variety of the Secret Rift Cafe members as themselves or as their OCs, as their pony OCs. So you can either see them in person, like what you're seeing with me now, or you see them as their OCs. I know Cellpex has done one like that, as an OC, and several times Stupid Private 913 has done it as well. In fact, I think he does it a lot. Um, but I thought I'd come on here and kind of put a little bit more discussions because as I was watching Analysis Bronies reacts to Shadow Play, which was one of the more recent uploads they did in this past week, um, I heard what a lot of them had to say, and do bring up some good points. And the way I look at Shadow Play is I break it down like this. A lot of people blame Twilight for being too obsessed. Well, not a lot of people, but a lot of fans are kind of, upset at the fact that Josh Haber Haber wrote Twilight as being so obsessed with freeing Starswill and wanted to meet him that she didn't realize what the consequences of her actions could be. Like, you're basically going back to Twilight of several seasons ago, and some people might find that great. Some people might find that terrific, and I'm not saying that's not a bad thing at all. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying that's upsetting or anything like that. But some people look at Twilight. She's in this position now as an alicorn. She's a princess of friendship. That she should know better, and that is agreeable. But the way I look at it, one thing that made this episode memorable for even the Analysis Bronies was how at most of the time, Starswell, since he first appeared, at the end, well, not just at the end of part one of Shadowplay, but throughout most of part two, of how he was acting like a prick, sorry for my language, God, but how he was acting like a prick, a bully, if you will. Well, not much of a bully, but just somewhat, hey, I'm better than you, I'm superior than you, to Twilight of all characters, who's a freaking alicorn princess, because he couldn't grasp the fact that all she was focused on, she even tried saying it, hey, I wanted to save you. I didn't think this was going to happen. But, and again, some people could, blame Twilight for that all they want. And, you know, Twilight does deserve somewhat of the blame. I'm not denying that. She does deserve somewhat of the blame. But when one thinks about it, if you're just moving my thing there for a second. But when one thinks about it, if you're the person that creates the spell, you know, shouldn't you be the one that, I don't know, put something in there that says, "Oh, by the way, for anybody that may find this journal or find this spell, shouldn't you have some kind of some kind of note in there that says, whatever you do, please do not reverse spell. Please do not bring me and the other pillars back, or you will bring destruction upon your world. Oh, if you do so, or or something like that, at least some kind of like note that said, hey, do not reverse the spell. For if you do, not only would you bring us back, you would also bring back the pony of shadows. You'd bring darkness back upon your world." And I think had Star Swirl did that when he wrote that journal and he cast this spell, that Twilight, knowing, we all know how Twilight is portrayed, right? She's portrayed as a book nerd. With all due respect, she loves books. She likes to read books. She likes to research stuff like that. So, wouldn't it have been beneficial for maybe for some pony like her to be like to see something like that and be like, oh, okay, I want to bring Star Swirl back, but according to what he says here on this last page, he doesn't want anybody to mess with the spell. Okay, fine. And just leave it at that. I mean, true, we wouldn't have had a story, but still, she could have you could have left it at that. Or maybe what they did later on in part two, what Twilight was figuring out, could have been easily implemented into part one. Like she could, you could still have the little note in there by Star Swirl saying, "Hey, please do not reverse the spell." Oh, because not only would you be bringing us back, but you'd be bringing darkness back upon the land. Um, wouldn't it have been easier for that spell that she had come up with at the in part two to be implemented in part one, to where she could say, "Okay, I understand Star Swirl doesn't want the spell reversed because it could bring the Pony of Shadows back along with them." Wouldn't it been make more sense if she would have said, "But if I could improve on that like I did previously with one of his spells and make it to where only they come back, but the Pony of Shadows remains," that would have been more interesting, because the story could have still played out the same. She could have basically done what she did in part two, worked on a spell saying, "Hey, this could work. This will bring them back." Because in part two, she was coming up with a spell that would keep them there, but banish the Pony of Shadows. Here, she would have kind of had a similar spell to where she would be bringing them back and keeping the Pony of Shadows in limbo. Um, so with that said, so with that said, um, it would have again. I know I sound like I'm repeating myself and I'm rambling. I do apologize. It's early. But it would have made more sense for her to do something like that, because, you know, you still could have got the story that you got, because it could have been written to where she believes she's figured out how to do this and just bring the pillars back. And even if you have Starswell say that line, like, you can't just bring us back, that and everything, but you could have her at least be competent enough to say, but I wrote it down. I rephrased it to where it's just you guys, nothing can happen. And then maybe wait a few moments and just as they're leaving the pone hinge, and maybe Starscroll kind of looks around and says, "Hey," kind of thinks, maybe you did do something correct. And as soon as they're all leaving, that's when you can have the Pony of Shadows emerge. You can have the lightning strike as soon as like they're leaving pone hinge. That's when you can have the lightning strike, like, and then you can have them all turn around, look, and then that's when you can bring the Pony of Shadows down, and you could fade, and then you could go fade into it to be continued. You'd from there, instead of just having Starswell be like, "You can't just bring the pillars back," and then all of a sudden have the Pony of Shadows appear. No, you could have it to where it looks like everything's fine, everything's worked out, and just as they're about to leave, that's when you do it. You have them turn around. You have Twilight go like, "Okay, maybe I didn't phrase this well," or rephrased it well. So again, you could have still gotten the same story. But I think anything, but I think if anything, if there's any pony to really take a majority of the blame, it should be Star Swirl. It should be Star Swirl as well, not just Twilight, because, like I said, Star Swirl should have been the one to implement some kind of note or add some kind of cliff note saying, "Hey, do not change anything. Do not do this. Do not do that." Don't reverse my spell. It would have worked easier if he had done that because, then like I said, that way, you still could have played with the story you had, but you could had Twilight being Twilight be but you still could have had Twilight be Twilight by having to be like, okay, I understand he doesn't want me to reverse it, but I'm gonna do what I can to do so. And again, it would have worked. It would have worked in the end. And I think a lot of people watching this, or eventually will be watching this, understand that. They understand that, hey, maybe we should maybe that could have worked. It's like, okay, maybe that could work or something. Ow. Pop my neck there. But like I said, it could have worked that way. And I think Josh Haber, if he's going to be watching this eventually, I think he knows that as well. That it could have been done a lot better, in my opinion. It really could because, like I said, there's a lot of fans that feel that Twilight shouldn't be represented the way she gets represented. I mean, you saw how some of them reacted to the way she was presented in said movie, and even though people like myself and others have explained this is why they did it, you know, just makes you kind of think maybe they could have done it a little bit different. And again, like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of people um, that know that. Oh, second is taking something here. Trying to look at something, but Yeah, I think it would have made more sense. And like I said, I know people watching this, and again, I apologize if I'm rambling and repeating myself. I think a lot of people know that to be true. They know that, and um, again, it's not. Again, you could still do the story that you've done, but you could have done, but could have made it a little bit more. You could have made Twilight take less of the blame of what she did because Starswell, in a sense, like I said, kind of shares that blame. He has to share that blame because of the fact that, um, he didn't like I said, he didn't put a a safety net, if you will, in that journal, saying, "Hey, whoever finds this spell or understands it, please do not reverse it," because again, like I said, knowing Twilight, you still could have had Twilight being like, "Okay, I understand and respect that, but I still believe he should be freed. He shouldn't have to he and the other pillars shouldn't have to deal with this. I'm gonna bring them out, and I'm gonna find a way to do it without bringing out the Pony of Shadows." And again, like I said, you could have done it that way. You could have had all of them act like, "Okay, maybe it worked. Then this is about to leave Ponehenge." That's when you can have the lightning strike, the Pony of Shadows appear, and Twilight kind of be like, maybe I didn't phrase it well," and realize that her rephrasing of the spell backfired. Could have worked. But yeah, Starswell, story wise, has to take a lot of the blame as well because he should have put in a safety net. He shouldn't have just assumed, okay, we're going to do this, and nobody's going to reverse the spell. He should have put a safety net in there, and maybe this is something he could have passed on to Celestia and Luna, knowing that eventually down the line they would probably have students of their own as well, that or pupils or apprentices of their own, that he could have easily said, okay, whoever your apprentices are, whoever your students may be, you know, teach them not to do certain things that are not basically. If he knew, because come on, you can't tell me Star Swirl didn't know that Celestia and maybe Luna were going to have students of their own, pupils of their own, that he wouldn't have tried to tell him, hey, teach him not to reverse any spells that I cast, because sometimes some of those spells may be necessary to protect the land. You can't tell me he didn't, you can't tell me he couldn't have done that. He couldn't have taught that to Celestia or Luna. It would have made more sense. In context, it would have made more sense. So, but yeah, Starswell to me, I mean, yeah, Twilight does deserve some of the blame, but Starswell mostly deserves a lot of it too because he didn't put in a safety net. I know some people will say, well, he didn't to have time to probably do it, and that might be true in context, but come on. Even if he knew he and the Pillars were going to have to do this, he could have easily wrote that into the journal before he left. I mean, it would have made sense. Now, let me let me talk about something else. Let me try to straighten this out here. Here we go. But let me talk about something else here for a moment. Dalriznator, or what's his name? Thespio. Thespio. You know, I understand that's BO if you're watching. I can understand maybe you have a disdain for Starlight, or if that's just in your character to have a disdain for her. Um, but you can't deny you cannot deny. It's got a table of contents. Again, like I said, you cannot deny that the way Starlight was written in the episode was somewhat competent in a way. You can't deny that. The way she was written was very competent. I mean, let let's be honest. I know and understand that some fans don't like her, and I get that. Because of the fact that, as you and at Midnight pointed out in the video, you know, when she kind of had that moment with Twilight where she basically said, you know, that that when Starswell said what he said by saying that nobody can be a friend with a pony like that, when he was talking about Stygian, in the way Stygian was doing things. When she said that she should be, maybe she's glad that Twilight's mentor wasn't around when Twilight decided to become Starlight's friend, because she probably would have ended up in limbo as well. Um, let's see if they have anybody on here. Let's see. Just looking. Um, I can understand when you and Midnight said that that's what should have happened to her. And again, I'm not disagreeing with your opinion, because like I said, you guys are not the only ones that feel um that Starlight should have faced some kind of punishment. I'm not saying she shouldn't have. Okay, I'm not. Um, but when you think about it, I think what they're trying to use with Starlight is they're trying to show that even the worst of ponies can change, and even ponies that are on the verge of destroying the world, or whatever you call it, that they can change. People can change. And I know that may not make sense to you. Oh, there he is. But like I said, I can understand. This is looking at something here. I can understand, how you feel, about not liking a certain character and all that. But to me, I don't think the okay. How do I say this? The way Starlight is written, not just this season, because I look at it this way. I even did a video on this, and you could check it out at my channel. But Starlight still has a lot of redeeming to go. She still has season 6 was basically the start of a redemption arc for her, right? It was a redemption arc. It was a bit of a redemption arc for him, for her. And season 7 kind of continues that redemption, but it's kind of established Starlight as being like, okay, she's still redeemed. She's kind of redeemed. She's kind of fully redeemed, but she's still got a lot to learn. Like her, like with the anger issue, bottling up her anger, all bottled up and stuff like that. So, and even when you take a look at Triple Threat, how she reacted along with Twilight about the comparison that Ember made to both of them. And I know people play that as a joke because Keyframe and came up with a certain meme that you don't like, and but it's pretty much true. I mean, when you take a look at what's going to happen with season 8, what they're doing with Starlight's basic to me. What Starlight was the um how do I put this? Starlight was basically the starting point to expand the world of Friendship is Magic beyond just um, the main 6 and Spike, and help expand on that. That's what Starlight's mission was. It's like, okay, season 6 still was about the main 6, but Starlight was involved as well. But the season 6 finale kind of gave us an idea that, okay, it's going to go beyond that now. Because we saw how season 6's finale began with Starlight taking Trixie. Twilight going to Trixie and saying, I want you, swallowing her pride, saying, yeah, I want you to accompany Starlight to her village. And right there, and the way it was also focusing on the now reformed heroes, if you will, I guess you could say the MLP version of Suicide Squad to save the day. Yeah, that pretty much could have told you right there, SBO, that Starlight was going to be there to stay, but that Starlight's involvement now basically said, hey, we're going to go beyond focusing on the main 6 when it comes to stories. Because when you look at season 7, you had several episodes that did that. And then when you take a look at what season 8 could be bringing and the discussion, the point is what's going on is you got people like Josh Haber, Nicole Dubach, uh, Christine and Joanne, the lady writers, and several others that are like, we need to expand on the whole Friendship is Magic deal. We can't just be focusing on the main 6 entirely. Now you might say, well, Slice of Life in season 5 was kind of non-main 6. In a sense, it was, but in a sense, it wasn't, because you still had the main 6 in the background and at the end. What I'm getting at is, oh, sorry. But what I'm getting at is what I'm getting at is when Starlight arrived, it was pretty much a turning point to her, to the show going in a direction that focuses on the other characters, which a lot of us should be happy about. Because, okay, it's cool to still have the main 6 around. Don't get me wrong about that. Still focus on them, whatever. That's fine. It's cool to do that. Just working on the mic right there. But it's cool to do that. It's cool to still see that happen. But um, when but it's also good to see other characters getting the spotlight on them, and I think that's what Starlight's involvement came in. It's like she was that turning point to take the show in another in that direction of, hey, it's not just about the main six anymore. It's now about these other characters like Starlight, Trixie, Sunburst, Spike, Thorax, Ember, you name it. It's about them now too. And I think that is where, I can understand that you, along with several others, are kind of not happy with, with the direction that the show is going in. I can understand that. You know, I can understand that, but there's a lot of shows do a lot of changes. A lot of things happen that we may or may not like, and sometimes it takes us time to get accustomed to. You know, and some of the decisions are good, some of them are not. You know, I can remember when, you know, of course, growing up in the '80s, I can, along with anybody else, remember when they killed off Optimus Prime. Yeah, I was upset about it. So was a lot of other young men, a lot of young boys, and even girls at that time that were into Transformers. Yeah, I was upset about it, and I thought it was a dumb move. But I was a kid back then, and I was willing to accept maybe, okay, this might be good, and I still enjoyed Transformers. I got a kick out of out of Hot Rod being Rodimus Prime. I had no problem with that. And yes, I was even happy when I was beyond ecstatic when they brought Optimus back, not just once but twice. So I was ecstatic by that. Again, was I happy? Did they kill them off in the movie? No. Looking back on it, I do agree with a dumb decision, but I was a kid back then. I was upset, but I got over it and I was able to still like Transformers and I got behind Rodimus Prime. So, I may not like a decision that gets made, but sometimes it may be a good, sometimes it might be the best decision, that they can come up with, and we may not know it. You know what I'm saying? We may not know that that's probably the best decision they can come up with. We don't. You know, and Starlight's involvement in the finale of season 7, I can understand with people, with fans like you, SBO, with all due respect, you may have not, in character or not, you may have not liked the fact that she was basically the one that said, "Hey, there's probably a better way of going. There's probably a better direction and a better way of going, as far as, instead of just banishing the Pony of Shadows." I mean, yeah, they did banish the the Shadow Pony itself, the one that was kind of like, as Toon Critic pointed out, is like the venom of the show, of the episode. Um, yeah, she did point out the BS, as you said, but that's the thing. But here's the thing: the way they wrote Starlight and having her point out, hey, maybe there's a better solution, is because they're going on her past experience as a villain. They're going on her past experience as someone that was in the same position. She even told Stygian, when she went into the Pony of Shadows to follow Twilight, she told Stygian, "Hey, look, I was no different than you. Twilight helped me, so she has the power to help you. She has the ability to help you because I was no different." You know, and the way they did this was they were writing it on her experience. They were writing it from her experience of being in a similar position and then being given a second chance at life. Because, like you said, she could have easily been punished, put into Tartarus, or put into limbo, and that could have been the end of it. End of story. But she wasn't. She wasn't put into limbo. She wasn't put into Tartarus. She was given a second chance at life she because Twilight came to an understanding with her. Twilight understood, look, I was no different than you as well. Because think about it. You think originally when Twilight first arrived in its first season, in the first episode, she wanted to make friends with the ponies of Ponyville? No, she didn't. All she wanted to focus on was her studies and all that. Yes, she had friends back in Canterlot, but she wanted to focus more on her studies. Yeah, she spent time with her friends there in Canterlot before she went to Ponyville, but she wanted to spend more time studying. True, the only true friend she had at the time was Spike, because Celestia gave him to her as an egg. But Twilight basically gave Starlight that second chance because she realized, hey, I know what it feels like to think I don't need friends, or I want to be left alone or whatever. I know what you're going through. Let me help you. And that's what happened. That's what happened. And Starlight, the way she's written in this episode, sometimes written throughout the season, is given that opportunity to use her past experience in the role of an antagonist to be like, you know what, maybe there's a better way. Because Twilight gave her a chance. She's using that experience of Twilight giving her that chance to be like, maybe there's a better way. Maybe we could talk to the Pony of Shadows and say, hey, what's going on? I mean, heck, look at the reaction she gave Star Swirl when they overheard Stygian. When Twilight went in, kind of left that hole, that little glowing hole in the middle of the Pony of Shadows. And, just enough of a hole so that what Stygian is saying, so that the pillars and the rest of the main six and Star Swirl and Starlight could hear the discussion, hear the conversation. You notice the reaction Starlight gave Star Swirl when Stygian pretty much said, I never wanted the power. I never wanted to steal anything from them. Yeah, Star Swirl was in shock, like, oh crap, I screwed up. Like, what? Wait a minute. You mean this whole time he wanted to help us? He never wanted power? And Starlight's reaction to him was like, see, told you. But she didn't say that. But basically, she gave him a look like she knew something more was up. And the reason she knew that is because of her past experience. And again, I understand. And again, look, I know I sound like I'm repeating and rambling here. But again, it's more along the lines of, she's using her past experience as a villain to kind of be like, maybe there's more to the situation than is being let on. And what do you know? There was, and look, let's take a look at it this way. Not all the characters that are redeemed and reformed, not all of them use their past experiences as antagonists to help solve a problem. They don't. Not that I know of. Starlight is one of the first to do so. Heck, she even tried to help Chrysalis, but I guess the writers want to keep Chrysalis evil for at least another season or so. But the point is, Starlight's kind of that point of view for the antagonist that's like, maybe there's more to the situation than being let on. And I know, and I understand Despio, Dow Wilsonator, and I can understand that you and anybody else that don't like what's going on with Starlight may not be looking forward to what they probably have planned for season eight's finale. Or like the idea that half of the season of season 8 is going to be kind of like counting down, or at least one episode in season 8 is going to be an episode to where it centers around Starlight in some way. I mean, look, I can understand that. And, it's like I tell people, everybody's got an opinion, got their own opinions, got the right to their opinion. We shouldn't judge them on whether they want to like something or they don't. But yeah, Starlight being written, and I know I've been going on about Starlight a lot longer than I did Star Swirl, but Starlight to me, I think you just got to give her a second chance. Just give her a chance, give her the opportunity. I mean, I understand you feel that her being redeemed, her given a second chance, her being allowed to stay on as a student as an apprentice, probably as a fellow vice principal, a teacher next season. Um, that may not be uh, your cup of tea or your cup of joe or whatever, but you just got to give her a chance. And again, it was her, as you even admitted, that called Starswell out on his BS. Now, I will say this. When it comes to the princesses in this episode, we know that season 7, just like season 6, but mostly season 7, gave him a lot more character development than we've ever expected. And we know season 8 is going to continue that. But if I was to look at what they could have done here, like I said earlier, they could have had Starswell kind of, teach Celestia and Luna that if they ever teach it, if they ever have students of their own, to kind of give them that one of the first lessons they should give them is, or teach them, is not to reverse spells that are meant to protect the land. And one thing that I think Golden Fox and Toon Critic brought out was, kind of pointed out, I think, was the fact that Celestia and Luna should have been doing, Celestia at least should have been doing something, trying to find out what happened to Starswill, even before and after she banished Luna to the moon. That she should have been at least doing something to figure out, okay, what happened to Starswill? Why did he say he had to? I mean, you could have had Celestia of all characters be like, I know what happened. I think I know. Just by reading the journal, being like, just having to read your journal, be like, oh, I do remember him putting this stuff in, and oh yeah, I now remember what what he was going to do. And you could have had her, maybe even Luna, but at least her, Celestia, be like, point out, yes, I know what Starswell did. I know what he and the other pillars did, but he also told me and taught me that certain spells, like what he probably did here, should not be tampered with, should not be reversed. She could have passed that on to Twilight, and Twilight could, again, like I said earlier, could have understood that, but she should know Twilight. She should know that Twilight would want to go beyond that. So, could Celestia and Luna helped out a lot more in this episode with a lot more historical information? Absolutely. They could have helped out. I'm not saying that, having them be there at the beginning and at the end, uh, having them be there at the beginning and at the end isn't serviceable enough. But the thing is, you could have done a lot more. And Midnight Sonata, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, pretty much says it best. Why didn't Twilight call upon the other princesses before she started the spell? Like, Celestia should have known, okay, you're going to do this research, but knowing my student, she might want to do more than just research. And you could have had, Twilight meet with the other princesses and say, hey, I'm going to do this. I plan to bring them back. Maybe you could have had Luna. Maybe you could have had Celestia. Maybe even Cadence, her sister-in-law, be like, hey, that's all great. That sounds great of you to do. But maybe there's a reason. Maybe you could have had them at least repeat what um what Starlight says later on. Because Starlight, like I said, going back to her for a moment, speaking from her own previous experience, basically is telling Twilight in Sunburst, yeah, it sounds great and everything. You want to bring them back, and yeah, you earned your wings, Twilight, by finishing one of Starsword's spells, but maybe there's a reason, they Starsword cast a spell the way he did. Maybe they don't want us to mess with it, stuff like that. And you could have had the princesses maybe involved a little bit more by kind of repeating that, kind of reaffirming that, saying, or reaffirming that at least East, or be the ones to say it first, and then have Starlight kind of reaffirm it as well. That maybe it sounds great on paper, but maybe it's not a good idea uh, when you go through with it. I mean, heck, Twilight even admits in the second part that she unleashed ultimate evil upon the land because she was obsessed with meeting Starswell. The point is, yes, I do agree that the princesses could have played a better role. And I think that, but the way I look at it, I think that's why anytime an episode is dedicated to them, people are enthralled by it. People enjoy it. People look forward to it because it's like one of those rare occasions that now you're going to see the princesses do a lot more than just what than what they're shown to do. I mean, heck, when they went out and fought the storm or that snowstorm in the crystalline premiere in season 6, I saw the reaction video to the Analysis Brony reaction video to that, and everybody was happy for the fact that, oh my gosh, this is happening. It's actually happening. I think even Josh Scorcher, aka Firebrand, even did the same thing on his video or on his channel. You know, even Josh Scorcher did the same thing on his channel. The point is, I think that's why we don't see him doing as much, because when we get an episode or so that is dedicated to them doing as much, doing so, or being focused on them, it's a lot more special. It's a lot more meaningful. And it allows us to see a side of them we don't normally see. So, yeah, I agree with Midnight, and I agree with a few others that, at Midnight and Golden Fox and probably several others, that they could have done a lot more. They could have. I'm not going to say, overall, I'm not going to say Shadow Play doesn't have its faults. Faults when it comes to, certain plot holes and what could have been and what shouldn't have been, and who gets the focus and who's mainly like the main reason things are solved at the end. Um, because everybody has an opinion to how they feel about things. You may not like certain things a certain way. You may enjoy things a certain way. You may like a character or not like a character. But I think Shadowplay pretty much, as everybody has agreed, is probably one of the better season finales that the show has had in a long time. You know, you may not like Josh Haber because look, you may not like someone like Nicole DeBach or Josh Haber because of what they've done in the past, but you got to agree they did a decent job here with this episode, and it's not like it's not like, oh, every episode's going to be perfect, or every season finale is going to be perfect. But I think they did what they had to, and like I said, when it comes to a character like Starlight, the reason she was probably the one that kind of helped solve the entire problem, and as Stetsbio put it, saw through Star Swirl's prideful BS, is because is because the writers are doing it from her own past experience. They're saying they're using her as that former villain that knows what it's like to be in a situation to where there's more to it than meets the eye. So, overall, besides maybe some people not liking that, some people enjoying that, um, some people not liking the fact that she was able to read the horn writing of Star Swirl's journal, the Pone or the Ponish, probably better than Twilight. Right. I can understand again, to some people may not like that, but again, it's all about past experiences, and we got to look at it that way. So, you know, again, I'm not saying that the episode was not without its flaws. It was a great episode, probably one of the better finales they've had. But, I admit there are moments, like I said, that they could have done a lot better. I mean, heck, you could have had the rest of the main six kind of call out Twilight on the fact that, hey, we've been here. I mean, heck, when they're doing the research and everything, it's pretty much indicated that they spent the past 3 days in Twilight's library sleeping while Twilight kept herself awake somehow. What, did she have a few cup of joes or something? I don't really know. But it's indicated that they were there for a few days. Maybe they went back and forth. Maybe it's like they went home, then they came back, never really took a break except for sleep. You could have had one of them honestly say, hey, look, maybe you could have honestly said, when Rarity comes out and says, another few days wouldn't hurt. It's not going to hurt. You could have had a lot of the main six, even Spike, say, hey, look, she's got a point. It's not going to, even Simba should have been like, yeah, Twilight, maybe we need to take a break. It's no hurry and all that. But again, story-wise, that wouldn't have played into Twilight's obsession of meeting Star Swirl or something. So, or her obsession with Star Swirl at the time, period. So, honestly, they could have called her out on it. You could have had one of them, like maybe even Pinky, be like, boom, no, Twilight, we need to take a break. We'll be back tomorrow. Good night. And out the door. And even take the freaking book with her, saying, we're going. They could have done that. They could have done that. But, apparently it's called Friendship is Magic. So the friendship being as strong as it is, they needed to basically see this through with Twilight to the end, or to whenever they got an answer. Sounds crazy, I know, but it's pretty much the way I'll look at it. But yeah, they could have wrote something in it to at least maybe Applejack could have called her out on it, because she's basically telling her we spent 3 days referencing and cross-referencing and stuff like that. And you could have had her be the one that says, hey, look, we need to take a break, and maybe take the book with them and say, look, we're going to keep this with us. We'll bring it back. Let's just get some rest. But again, friendship is magic. They got to let that friendship be strong to the end. So, but they could have done something there as well. The point is, like I said, there are moments in there that have plot holes, kind of not perfect. But if you look over that and not and analyze it as much, I think they did a decent job here. I think they did a decent job with this finale. And, I think, again, despite its flaws and everything, it was good. It was one of the better finales they've had. So, anyway, that's just going to be my discussion on this Sunday morning of Shadow Play, the season 7 finale. Let me know what you guys think down below. You can check out my original review here on my channel, as well as check out the Analyst Bronies Reaction video to season 7's finale. And I will talk to you all later. Thank you all for watching, and I am out.